Every year, my friend Fisher makes a really funny Christmas card, and this year he hit me up asking to help with the design. He wanted a mullet-wearing Santa riding a lawnmower with a target deer pulling him flying over a trailer park. So, of course, I had to say yes, and I jumped right in. I went to Shutterstock, and I started looking for pictures of Santa, lawnmowers, and deer, and things that I wanted to use for the design. The first Santa images and lawnmower that I tried to put together really didn't work out. It wasn't my favorite, so I quickly switched gears and started working on the rest of the design before going back to find a new Santa image to use. Once I got the trailer park image in place, I used the new neural filters to try to make the whole landscape look a little bit more wintry and snowy. And then I extended the whole top part of the image with the sky so that I could have more canvas to work with. I went back to Google, I found another lawnmower that I thought had a much better perspective. I found this image of Santa working on a computer and I thought it just worked perfectly. So I dropped him in on top of the lawnmower and I started to Photoshop out the parts of the background and the parts of the Santa image that weren't really going to work for what I needed. I also Photoshopped out this watermark, which I highly do not recommend you do for clients. I just thought it was fine because it's just a funny Christmas card. I adjusted all of the colors from the Santa to match the tones and shades of the lawnmower so that way it just looked more natural and they meshed together well. I edited some shadows so that it looked like Santa was actually sitting in the seat of the lawnmower, and I think I spent a little bit too much time on the shadows, but I really think it makes a difference even if you're only seeing it from a distance. I finished out the round shape of the tires just to make it look like it was flying and wasn't planted in the grass like the original photo was. I put Santa in the sky with his flying deer, and then I drew in these fake rain pieces over the deer's mouth and face just so it looked more like he was connected to the lawnmower. I did this just by drawing black lines over it. I didn't think it was a big deal. You can't really tell. There's no details in that part of it. But I didn't think that the deer looked enough like a target deer, so I went and found an actual target and photoshopped it over the deer's body to give the implication and the message that it was a target deer. I decided to make the image look more blue and even add a darker sky so that it looked more like nighttime. When I added the blue background, you could see there was a lot of white artifacts around the deer image, so I had to go in and clean this up a lot. Instead of cleaning up the antlers, I just painted over them with a similar color. Then I added a bevel and emboss to the deer to make it look a little bit more plastic. I went back to Google and I found some stars so that I could make the sky look like it was actually nighttime, and I threw in some highlights and things to make it look a little bit more like the moon was shining. Then it was time to work on the mullet. So I grabbed this image of a mullet from Google and I just started to clean it up so that I could put it on Santa Claus. Once I had this photoshopped mullet in place, I started to trim out the areas that weren't going to show from under his hat, and then I duplicated the mullet a couple times just to give it some more depth. I flattened those pieces together and used the puppet warp tool. Then I took a small brush and painted in some hair strands just to make it look a little bit more realistic and less of that doubled up look that I had. Then I went in and added some shadows underneath the mullet and on the part of the hat where the hair would be coming out, so that way it looked like they were actually together and made it look a little bit more realistic. Then I just played around with some settings to try to get my lights and everything to match, and I changed the color of the lawnmower so that it matched and flowed with the background image a little bit better. Then I just went looking for some fonts, and I found the right stuff to make this card say Mullet Christmas. I'm super stoked with how this came out. My buddy Fisher was really excited, and I've got to say, this card looks really awesome on my fridge. It's the middle of January, and I probably should take it down, but sometimes you just gotta leave things around you that make you feel good. So every time I see that on my fridge, I tell myself and everyone around me, Mullet Christmas. Happy New Year, everybody.